All right, we're continuing our look at MLA citations, this time focusing on in-text citations, so that we can continue avoiding plagiarism and establishing credibility by giving credit. Our lesson objectives are that by the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain what citing is and why we cite, explain both times we cite, create MLA in-text citations and use them correctly. And so your cue words for this time are citing, when to cite, and in-text citations. As a reminder, citation is simply the act of noting who we got our ideas from and where we found these ideas. We cite so that we can build credibility. This lets our reader follow our research path, make sure that we're using it right, and so we build trust. And so that we can avoid plagiarism. We don't want to be stealing other people's ideas or their words, so we're going to give credit where it's due. And this also helps with credibility because our authors, as authors, our readers then know we can be trusted. So there are 2 times and 2 ways to cite. Again, as a reminder, because we have 2 purposes, that means we have to cite in different ways to make sure we've accomplished both of these purposes. First, we will cite throughout our paper in-text citations that go in the body of text to show where the information came from. Gives credit to the original author of the idea as you use the idea. And then, like we talked about last time, reference citations that are placed on a reference page and build credibility by letting the readers find our sources. So in-text citations are just placed in parentheses at the end of a sentence before the period, and they are there to show when we've quoted information or when we've paraphrased or summarized. Basically, this is to be used every time you borrow words or ideas from a source, something that did not come entirely 100% from your own head. If you have 2 or 3 sentences that you've paraphrased or summarized from the same source, you can cite at the end of the summary or paraphrase. But if you make your summary or paraphrase from 2 or 3 sources and you go back and forth between sentences, then you're going to need to cite every time you change sources. This is true all the way through your paper. Every time you change sources, you need to cite at the end of a source use. So this is an example of in-text citation where you can see the citation at the end of a sentence before a period. And making in-text citations on your own is actually a lot easier than making reference citations, because most in-text citations very simply consist of an author's last name and a page number. That's it. Last name, space, number. No P's, no number signs, no commas, nothing fancy, just author and page number, just like our example. If you're quoting and you use the author's name in the sentence that introduces the quote, then you can finish the citation with just the page number, like that. And somewhere earlier in the sentence, you would see the name Smith. There are a few times that in-text citations get tricky, but they're a lot more basic than reference citations. So the first issue is if you don't have an author name. And the solution to that is that you simply use the title. Please note that titles of short works like articles or chapters or poems or short stories are going to go in quotation marks, whereas articles of long works like whole books or magazines, journals, very long poems, albums, etc. will go in italics. Another issue is that sometimes we don't have a page number, especially if our resource is an online resource. And the solution for that is so simple. Just don't include one. And if you use two or more sources in the same section, you need to cite both sources in the same set of parentheses and separate it by a semicolon. Like this. So to remind you, citations give credit for where our information came from, and in-text citations show readers that we're being honest about where our ideas in our work came from. So we're showing them which ideas are ours and which ideas are someone else's that are being used to support ours.